It's Tuesday. What does that mean, Justin?
Time for another episode of Taco Ball Tuesday.
Let's
We got
talk about it.
action. NBA is fired up. Boston is crushing Milwaukee right now. We got Warriors Grizz game 2 on tap for the evening.
Round 2.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to spend too much time on it, but to wrap up round 1, all I could say is disappointing. We just talked about it last week. Series were 2-2. It was looking like things could go 7 games. We got no game 7s, and all the higher seeds closed out in 6. So no big surprises or upsets. And here we are in round 2. Everybody's got a game underway, and we got a couple more teams about to hit their second game. And I think on the menu, we got to respond to the fans. I got some criticism about why we dislike Boston so much, why we always bag on money,
D-Money.
Mr. Moneybags, Draymond Green, baby. And so for those of you like me without a dog in the fight, we're going to bring to you not a team to root for. We're going to give you all the reasons why you should root against these teams. So we got 8 teams left. We're going to go through and give you what we got on teams to dislike. You got any thoughts on the first 4 games, though, of the second round before we dive in?
I want to see chaos. And I think we got chaos in the first few games with teams not able to protect home court. That was that was a little intriguing. I mean, unless you're Miami, but to see Bucks steal game 1 and then Warriors steal game 1, I think what some of the action, the chaos, the suspense, the intrigue, I feel like we got a lot of that in the first round on like an individual level, but not necessarily for the whole series. And this second round is going to have a lot on both levels, a lot of intrigue. Some of these series, man, are going to go to the distance. Like, especially I think this I think we're in for a treat with this Grizzlies Warriors series whenever the Warriors fail game 2 tonight. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'm in good spirits about that, I hope. I'm in bad spirits about that, but I hope that they do. But I just see the Warriors or the Grizzlies' chance to take the lead and win game 1, and they squandered it. And I don't see them getting a chance to get it back. So we shall see, but not in high hopes there. How do you feel about your Philadelphia 76ers? I feel like when I got the news of Joel Embiid going to be out minimum the first 2 games, not even traveling with a team, that I thought for sure they'd be going back 0-2. And game 1 did not disappoint. It was close for a bit, but Harden shows that he is the 3rd or 4th option on that team, and probably the 4th. I mean, Maxey and Tobias Harris carried them, and Harden was MIA.
Absent. Totally absent. It's like he's not even wanting to shoot the ball. And I get where he's coming from because he's been surrounded by other shooters and scorers, but Philly needs him to shoot. Like, Philly needs him to step up and be more. He just seems like he's lost a competitive edge.
He comes from being a ball dominant ball hog, not surrounded by shooters. Get out of here with that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what he needs to be in this series. Like, as long as Joel is out, like, I want him to be that ball hog. I want him to show the rest. Like, if the Sixers want to have any semblance of a chance without Joel, because I'm with you, I don't think they win game 2. And even if Joel's back for game 3, I mean, dude's pretty banged up. Like, to me, the Sixers stand the best chance when Harden gets back to his ball hog ways and is efficient, which, that might be too much of an ask, but
I
don't know. I'm not feeling very
don't know.
optimistic.
Some thoughts to ponder here. Perhaps we'll look back at history and this story will unfold differently. But out of the gate, some people said, "Oh, Philly fleeced Brooklyn. Oh, Brooklyn fleeced Philly in this trade." Most times people don't ever say it's a win-win trade. And never have I ever heard about a trade that was just lose-lose. Like, how did these teams make this trade? And I feel like it made both of them worse somehow. Like Ben Simmons went on to just be a coward and play no games. And James Harden is slowly becoming Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, scared to shoot. Looks like he has lost his confidence. What does Doc Rivers do to these guys in practice?
What
is going on?
What's in the water?
It's they need a bottle of Mike's special stuff or whatever.
Mike's Red Hot, yeah.
MJ's secret juice or whatever from the original Space Jam. Shake up that bottle, Doc. Like, give these guys some motivation. I mean, just keep running around, just play. You'll probably win if you just play like the game. I don't know. We got to get the Grizz on here to tell us what is going on with James Harden. Because if he's in the decline of his career and he could fall off rapidly when you lose that burst, he's played more career games in the NBA than Magic ever played, than Larry Bird ever played. Like 13 years, I think 13 years career so far that's still a lot of miles. Like, not everybody is LeBron playing for 19 seasons and still at their peak. Like, some of these players that came into the league after him that you thought would be carrying the league. I mean, James Harden is an MVP scoring champ, but there's no denying there's a drop-off. He has more of that Dwayne Wade drop-off where that super athleticism and speed and burst is no longer carrying him. And he looks like old man Harden out there. And I don't know if there's some injury, or if he's just slowed.
He has never made it. I think it was Wob or someone on Twitter like tweeted this back in his Rockets prime. He had this season where like almost in every statistical category he led. He was number one, like on every single offensive output. Like, he was dishing, he was shooting, he was nailing threes. And I think that's the trajectory, the arc of the trajectory is he's coming down. And there's, you think of so many other players where it's like I was talking to someone here in Charlotte about like Gordon Hayward. Think about when Gordon Hayward played for the Utah Jazz. He was incredible. Like, he played so well that then, got signed to the Celtics.
Am I like just having a total mind blank? Because when Gordon Hayward went to the Celtics, game 1 of that season, he snapped his foot off.
Yeah.
Like, his ankle was gone. Like, he was holding his leg and his foot was just hanging off the side. And it was like, has Harden had like, and then he got hurt again after that. Like,
that dramatic, but it could be, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, when the truth comes out, it could be, hey man, I was like playing through some sort of hamstring issue the whole time that
like just a lingering hamstring that just would never heal. And we never got like the big, like, oh, I had to sit out like a year and a half. Like, has he ever missed that much time outside of like what seems like just not wanting to play for his team?
What one last comment I want to make about Sixers, then I'll see if you've got any other first round wrap up. Is I will be so pissed if this series, the less competitive this Heat Sixers series is, the more the narrative will be Embiid injury, like downed the Sixers, didn't give them any chance, and Doc Rivers will not be in the blame spotlight. He will get off scotch-free again because he gets to play the card. Embiid injury, like, we could have done much better, and like think about how
just stop. He doesn't
totally
get to play that card. The only reason Joel Embiid is
totally
injured is because Doc Rivers would not pull him out of a 30-point blowout with 4 minutes to go or less than.
Even then, he would take no responsibility. He took no responsibility.
He's just a crock. Knock, knock. I'm a crock. He's full of it. I can't stand that guy. He would be like, well, we didn't have our best guy for 2 games. And, okay, you didn't have Chris Paul for 2 games. You were up 3-1. Who cares? You were up 3-1. He was playing on one leg. Joel, he was playing with one eye. Yeah, because you had it blown out of its socket. You buffoon. It is all his fault.
For that reason, I almost want the Sixers to get swept in 4. And
I just want him to lose, and I want Doc Rivers to be gone because once again, like,
he cannot coach anymore. I do not want him coaching any team in the league.
No, there needs to be repercussions for just the negligence at the helm of these franchises and these players is just making me so angry.
All right, let's spend enough time talking about the Sixers and their misguided hope in the series against a Heat squad that could,
like, if he is at fault for me missing Embiid and Giannis in 7 games. Oh my gosh. But
I digress. From round 1.
No, that's kind of the round 1 recap, of sort of look ahead at round 2 a little bit, but
I thought of one other round 1. Wait, I'll go real quick here.
Yeah.
There's all these little moments in these series that remind you that life is greater than basketball, as good as basketball is. And one of those moments was Grizzlies Warriors when that series wrapped up, seeing Ja's dad and Carl Anthony Towns' dad at the end of the game. They're dapping it up. I mean, Ja's dad was giving him so much crap, but they're shaking hands. Ja takes off his jersey. It's like, hey, here you go. And Ja's dad is like, put it on, put the jersey on, put the jersey on. I just like, man, that was a really special moment. That was a highlight for me. Even though
was cool.
The Warriors went down and the Grizzlies were
Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking. You said the Warriors twice went down, and I got excited, but
Warriors on the brain, I guess.
Yeah. Down the drain. Triple BP for round 1 has to go to Jose Alvarado, and we will be on the lookout for a triple BP here in round 2. But just the Baja Blast breakthrough player, it's got to go to undrafted Georgia Tech Jose Grand Theft Alvarado.
Grand Theft Alvarado. Well said. Well said.
All right. So as you might notice, Joakim Noah, one of the most dislikable characters in the history of the NBA, sets the tone for our talk tonight. Dr. Timothy Weimer, this is for you. Reasons to root against teams, because it's more fun rooting against them and rooting for them to lose than it is to pick a random team and hope that they win when you don't have a dog in the fight. So,
and it's easier.
Yes, I would first like to go, well, we'll go series by series and we'll do the matchup. And I've got the most least likable player for each team, and then a few notes as to why you would not want to root for this team/franchise.
Okay.
So let's start in the East with the series we're watching right now. and we'll do Celtics and Bucks. And we'll start with the Milwaukee Bucks. Reasons you would not want to root for the Milwaukee Bucks. Reasons to root against them. They just won last year. Get me somebody else. I don't need no repeat champions. I don't need to see it. Get them out. All right. So if you're looking for a franchise to root against the team that just won last year, because they don't need a second. All right. And if you're looking for another reason to root against the Milwaukee Bucks, they have one of the most unlikable players in the NBA. They have one of the most unlikable players in all of the NCAA history, and one of the most unlikable humans as the nation comes together and cheers every time he fails epically. Grayson
Allen. Ooh, that is a good one. Oh, man.
So he played at Duke, and if there's any more reasons to want to dislike somebody like that, just that's all I could give you. All right. So
you got anything else against the Bucks as a franchise at all?
No, not really.
Okay. I can't think of anything. I mean, they're like, I'd say a small-ish market, right? Like,
whoa. I really had to try hard to abstain from putting in any positives about these teams. It's only the negatives. So even though they are
the lack of distinct negatives. Okay.
Yes. So
got it.
There it is. One last year, Grayson Allen scumbag.
Well said.
Let's weigh that against
the
Boston Celtics.
Ooh,
all right. Let's just think about this. Boston. Who likes the city of Boston? I don't know. I can't think of too many people. I
don't know why people would move to Boston either.
Go ahead and count them. 17 NBA championships. So I don't care if they didn't win last year or they didn't win for the past 30 years. I hope they don't win for another 70 years. I hope I never have to see them raise a banner for the rest of my life. I do not want to see number 18 in my lifetime. They're a big market. They're a smarmy team and city, and I just can't stand the Boston Celtics, always feeling entitled to everything. They think they're the best town, and their uppity East Coast snobbery, and I've had just about enough of it.
We've got the Patriots.
And they've got transplants like Tim Weimer, who grew up a Knicks fan, who grew up a Giants fan, who grew up a Rangers fan, and here he is rooting for the Tom Brady's Patriots, rooting for the Boston Celtics, rooting for the Boston Bruins. Have you no shame, man? Hold to your roots. Disgusting.
Don't sell your soul for that success.
So nobody likes the city. Nobody likes the fact that they've won 17 titles. I'm sick of hearing about them, sick of seeing them all the time. Root for them to lose every chance I get. And for their least likable player,
a
guy who is just a constant irritant, who you pretty much only like him if he's on your team, who's always complaining about something, who's always flopping every chance he gets.
No, I know who this is.
Marcus Smart.
Yes. Easy to hate that man. Defensive player of the year. Are you serious? I have a feeling
there's going to be another defensive player of the year making this list later on tonight.
Okay.
All right. Do you have anything to add for the least likable? You got a least likable player. You have some dislikable attributes about the Boston Celtics.
I think you nailed it with Marcus Smart. I think people in Boston live such miserable lives that for all the sports teams there, like that's they put so much hope in sports because the rest of their lives are awful. So that's
I mean, did they even steal the garden from Madison Square Garden to be the TD Garden? Oh, the Boston Garden. I feel like it's stolen. They think they're New York, but they're not. And I don't even like New York. So go ahead, group yourselves in with them because it's two cities I don't like. I don't like your sports. I don't like your teams. Don't like nothing. Next, Heat 76ers, staying in the East.
Okay.
Who do you want to start with?
We got to start with the Heat, man.
The Miami Heat. Reasons to dislike the Miami Heat. Big market city. They think they're the best because all they do is party all night out on South Beach. Got a song by Will Smith about them. All right. They've got 3 NBA championships. That's tied for like, I don't know, 10th most. So a winning franchise who always got a dog in the fight. That's pretty much all I got. They're a big market. They think they're better than everybody because they have great weather and they've won 3 titles.
Spo has I feel like the team still has this aura that people will kind of play for Spo, and he'll like, even to some degree, even this roster where it's like he could cook up magic out of guys you've never heard of. Now, not as true this year, but I'm curious, Justin, who you got for who's the easiest to hate from
Okay. This guy,
because I've got one at the top, but then one not far from behind.
This guy to me is the the least likable player for the Miami Heat. Most hateable, least likable.
Oh,
Much like Marcus Smart, he's an irritant. If you thought Marcus Smart flopped a lot, this guy puts him to shame. This guy belongs on a pedestal in FIFA. This is unparalleled in the NBA. You could sneeze from the nosebleed section, and this guy would tumble over like tumbleweed. He is the worst. I can't stand him. I don't like watching him. He's constantly complaining, saying he got fouled, flying all over the place. The least likable player on the Miami Heat is Kyle Lowry.
I actually disagree. As much as because to me, you know, Kyle, like he's a Philly kid, right? He went to Villanova, like that grit and grind. That's what he does, man. He's been doing that everywhere, doing that for the Raptors.
Please do not confuse flopping with toughness. I cannot. I will not tolerate it.
He dances on that line. I'm going someone else who this man wants to be hated. This man wants you to hate him. And he says, "Oh, you hate me? Thank you. Give me your negative energy. Let me receive it. Soak it up," because it just fuels his passion, his anger, his love for the game. And he could care less about it. This dude isn't afraid to burn teams, burn franchises, burn coaches, and just so finds to have the best match in the Heat. I guess because it's already so hot, right? Things are just already on fire. I'm going with Jimmy Butler as easiest to hate on this squad, and he's totally okay with that.
See, I've made this agree with you. All of those reasons that you just gave are reasons that endear me to Jimmy Butler, and I like him all the more for it. But I can totally understand why you would be justified in rooting against the Miami Heat because you can't stand Jimmy.
I also want to mention one other person that I hate on this roster, and that's Udonis Haslem, solely for the fact that the dude is 42 years old and has been at the Heat for 20 plus years. What has he done for them? Nothing.
He won 3 titles.
Okay, he won 3 titles. He was on the bench for those 3 titles. Is he just that like psych up guy that just like is he the hold me back guy to LeBron?
He's the guy who literally they're like, this game's getting chippy. We're gonna check Udonis him. I think he's played like a combined like 6 minutes per season in the last 10 seasons because he only checks in if he needs to beat somebody up. And I'm very shocked that it never came to that against Nikola Jokic, because we still haven't seen from Marcus or Markieff Morris or whichever Morris is on that team. And if had he been playing, he would be eligible bachelor number 1 for least likable player, because he's just a dirty scumbag, always with the dirty plays, trying to be like, who, me? Yes, you ran up from behind and elbowed some guy and are surprised he retaliated. Like, man, I don't have time for you.
So many likable players here on the Heat, and we haven't even talked about the Sixers.
So many unlikable. Well, so what is there to say about the 76ers? Philly, it's a big market, or at least they think they're a big market. They act like a big market. Their fans are abysmal. All right. They're just atrocious. You boo Santa Claus, you stink. I can't root for you. Anybody outside of your city just can't root for you. Just trash. They also have 3 championships, all right, in the team history. Not as recent as Miami's, of course, but reasons that you might not want to root for a team to go all the way and win, as they have had success in their past. And they have the most unlikable character leading the helm, Doc Rivers. The most unlikable coach resides on one of the most unlikable teams left in these playoffs. His name is Doc Rivers. He lost his voice 30 years ago and it never came back. He finds ways to blow games. He finds ways to blame everybody but himself. If not for the saving grace of Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen showing up in Boston, he would just be a total epic failure and had been out of a job a long time ago and probably not gotten offered another one. So
that
Doc Rivers
really did prolong his career, didn't it?
You disgust me.
Any
And
players?
now we've already talked about it. You've ruined. I can't. Least likable player on the Philadelphia 76ers.
I feel like we've already talked about this man.
You don't have to look far. He's there. He's constantly talked about. He's only been there less than half a season. He stinks. He can't back it up. He whined and cried and boo-hooed his way and tanked his season in Houston to get out so he could go join buddy with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then realized that Kyrie Irving has sage and ambiance parties in the locker room or whatever he does. He doesn't show up to practice. He thinks the world is flat. I can't get along with this guy. I can't play with Kevin Durant. I can't play with these guys. This is everybody's fault but my own, even though I've lost the step. So he sabotaged his way out of the new Brooklyn Nets, whatever they are, New Jersey, New York. Who cares? You're gone. Sabotaged his way out of there. He poo-pooed. He kicked Chris Paul out of Houston. Didn't want to play with him anymore. Couldn't get along with Dwight Howard. Couldn't get along with anybody anywhere he went, seemingly. His game was predicated on baiting people into fouls by hanging the ball low and then swiping his arm up and engaging in the contact. I'm sorry, but you should have like 50% of the points that you've ever scored, 70% of the points you ever scored, stricken from the record books because you got cheap fouls that should have been offensive fouls as you exploited loopholes in the game. Now that the rules have changed, you have dropped off the face of the NBA. You're done. You're annoying. I'm tired of looking at you. I'm tired of hearing about you. James Harden, you're the least likable player on the Philadelphia 76ers.
Drop the mic. That was well said. Might I also remind you, the closest this man made it to winning a championship was in the year the 2011 to 2012 season. His third and final season with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was coming off the bench, won Sixth Man of the Year. OKC reached the finals. They lose in the finals, and has Has he made it back to the finals since?
No.
No, this man is not.
Up 3-2 on the Warriors. Could have put them away. Chris Paul hurts his hamstring, and guess who doesn't show up? Choke artist James Harden. Time and time again, the big stage comes and he withers away. He's so unlikable. Also, honorable mention, just because you brought up Jimmy Butler's unlikable characteristics,
Okay.
the Philadelphia 76ers also employ a rather big personality that is constantly getting under the skin of other people, constantly aggravating other people, constantly baiting other people, constantly trolling other people, and intentionally trying to be the bad guy. Joel Embiid.
Yes. Honorable mention.
So
We need to see masked Embiid again when he comes back. And it's got to be that. Remember that black mask he had where it looked like, I saw these memes like Phantom of the Opera, but it was Joel Embiid.
yeah.
I just love, shout out to Jimmy Buckets. And I love it when these players like embrace that, they don't let it, like KD, dude would just fold under the pressure. He like probably on the sideline, he's got his burner Instagram account, like responding to direct messages of people criticizing him. Joel, Jimmy, who cares? Like that, they're not going to lose sleep over that. If anything, it fuels their passion. That's awesome. I respect guys like that. All right.
Let's head out west. We've got 4 teams, 2 series to get through. Where would you like to start? Because to be honest, I'm kind of I've got like almost polar opposite coverage here of the remaining teams out west. It's really weird how these series matched up and what I can even bring to you.
Let's start with Suns Mavs.
Okay. Suns Mavs. Who do you want to start with?
Start with the Suns, our number 1 seed here.
All right. So reasons not to root for the Phoenix Suns. Based on the team and franchise history. I drew a blank. I have no positives to give you, but as I'm not allowed, but
reasons to not root for the Suns.
I mean, I've got some unlikable players on the Suns, but based on franchise history, they've got nothing. They've never won a title.
There's no dirt. There's no skeletons in the closet. This is a great coach.
Whoa, not positives. No positives are allowed to
be
shared.
I'm trying to find some negative stuff here. It's hard for the Suns. Players.
It's hot and they're in a desert.
Yeah. It's a dry heat.
Are these the fans that is this the Suns in 4 guy? Nuggets in 4 guy?
This is
Suns in 4?
Suns in 4, right?
So I can't even say that I dislike their fans because that was one of the greatest moments of fandom. The only thing that you could, I don't know, dislike about Phoenix as a franchise is that they've consistently underachieved. They had the best offenses in the NBA under Mike D'Antoni and 2-time least deserving MVP, LD MVP, as we've discussed in episodes past, Steve Nash, and failed to get over the hump and win the title. So they get your hopes up by being an underdog story and having this great offense, and they're going to stop the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. But instead, they choke. And so if you're looking for a reason to dislike their franchise, it's because they're going to let you down. On to the least likable players on the Phoenix Suns.
We are in total agreement on this one, without hesitation.
For the least likable player on the Phoenix Suns?
Yes, of course.
All right, so
a certain point guard.
Well, I guess we're not in agreement.
Okay, enlighten me.
I had to have honorable mention here, but the least likable player on the Phoenix Suns talks a big game. He's the ultimate fake tough guy, always willing to puff his chest and thump his chest and say that he's going to get in a fight, only to not show up, only to back down like a coward, only to flop around. He's the biggest whining crybaby, and then he wants to go and play like, oh, this is so funny. I can make fun of myself. No, you can't. You're a loser. Nobody likes you. You never won anywhere you've been, and you exhibit all of the same characteristics as somebody else on your team. But the least likable player on the Phoenix Suns for me is Jay stinking Crowder. Like,
my man.
I mean, he just thinks that like he has achieved far more than he's ever achieved. Like, I'm sorry.
It's misguided confidence.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jay Crowder also went to college at Marquette.
Unbearably unlikable.
Interesting. Okay.
He just passed Anthony Davis for most points scored in the playoffs. They came into the league at the same time. He played over 60 more playoff games than Anthony Davis. He was like, what? He was on the Celtics. There's another reason to dislike him. He played for the Celtics and nobody liked him then.
So Jay Crowder would be my honorable mention.
Yes.
And for me, top of that list has got to be Chris Paul. Come on,
so this is like a 1A, 1B, 1A. Like, I had them both on there. But
there's just the ultimate troll, Chris Paul, playing mind games. Doesn't matter. He's like that kid that, you know, is like really, really intense. Like you're about to play a game. He comes up, shakes your hand. He's like, hey man, like, you know, have a good game. This will be fun. And then 5 minutes later, he's kicking you in the nuts. He's kicking you.
He's like the guy who, like, well, yeah, he'll do that, but he's also going to be like, oh, good game, and he'll go to high five you, but there's spit on his hand because he's just slimy. He's just a dirt bag.
Or in the last second, like takes it away. It's like,
yeah,
like what the heck?
He an irritant, an aggravator, but also he. Not just borderline. He has like a history of dirty plays, and that cannot be overstated enough. And he's just always, they're like, oh, well, people think he's call him borderline so that he can get away with it because of how good he is gifted wise on the court. Right. But then there's like if he didn't have the skill he had, he would barely be known as like a Pat Beverly. Like, he gets away with with all that stuff. He does all that stuff. He's just like, for all the talent he has all the unlikableness to go right along with it. And
oh man,
for that, the most unlikable players on the Phoenix Suns are Jay Crowder and Chris Paul. Plus, everybody constantly talks about him as the greatest winner of basketball. Well, until he's got a championship, I don't want to hear about it.
That's true.
All you guys dog Charles Barkley because he never won a title. Well, I don't want this guy to say, oh, he's a winner everywhere he went. You won a games. You could win some games. Maybe you won a playoff series. You underachieved in Houston. You underachieved with the Clippers. Like, well, I can't stand him. All right.
That was all for the Suns. We still got the Mavs, my man.
They are playing the Dallas Mavericks. So if you're looking for reasons to root against the Mavericks, to pick which team is more unlikable and you want them to lose in this series, here's why you might not want to root for the Mavericks and why you might enjoy watching them lose. In their history, they have one championship, which is one more than Phoenix, because Phoenix always lets you down and chokes. So don't like them for that. And you could not like them for not like the Dallas Mavericks because they won a title, which is really hard because most of you who love to root against people want to root for them because the title they did win was against a team that you all hated in LeBron James,
yes,
Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and the Miami Heat. So it was really hard to come up with reasons to dislike their team and franchise as a whole. I don't have any other reasons to dislike the Dallas Mavericks as a franchise.
I've got one for you. Who are they owned by, Justin?
So I'm trying not to give positives here, but they're owned by Mark Cuban,
who is totally annoying and self-obsessed man who is trying to play this like, oh, I'm a very good man that helps people out, does all this charitable stuff. Dude is so full of himself. I can't stand Mark.
He is a self-made billionaire from right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
That's another reason why to hate the franchise. It's just Mark Cuban,
who will do whatever it takes to win basketball. At least he's not some cheap billionaire who refuses to try and get players and do what it takes.
He's not a fraud, but he's an ego.
He's got an ego. He's probably a bit phony. But now, when it comes to the least likable player on a Dallas Maverick roster, you have to search up and down. You have to read the names over and over again. You have to compare them. You have to think. You have to rack your brain. You have to come up with any little inconvenience that there might be. And guess what? I found none. The Dallas Mavericks have no unlikable players on their team, mainly because they have no recognizable players on their team, but there's nobody that stands out. No irritator, no guy that just goes out there to get under people's skin, no dirty players, no egomaniacs. I couldn't find one. So I'm very sorry. There's very little for you to root against the Dallas Mavericks for. I just don't have much. I got nothing, really.
Yeah, I was looking at the roster earlier. I can't. I feel like the most compelling case would just be Luka because he's so good at what he does. And if you just want to hate someone who's so successful.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything that's
malicious or dirty.
Yeah, I don't.
You can't really say much about that Mavs roster.
So if you're keeping track at home, I would say root against the Suns in this series. But
don't worry, we'll come back to the bracket and we will choose our winner of the most detestable franchise.
All right, so we got one more series. It's the Warriors. It's the Grizzlies. We're going to start in Memphis. Reasons to dislike the Memphis Grizzlies team, franchise. I've got nothing. They've never won a title. They don't play in a big market.
Remember back to the Zach Randolph days and Mike Conley,
grind, Zebo, Mark Gasol.
Yeah.
Whoa, we can't be listing favorable characteristics. All right. I have nothing to present as an argument as to why you should root against the city and the team of Memphis. But I searched far and wide, up and down that roster, and I have come up with the least likable player on the Memphis Grizzlies. All right. And it doesn't really even have to do with his time spent on the Memphis Grizzlies. It has time spent elsewhere. And I know a lot of people say he's such a great teammate and everybody loves him, but he is just one of the most infuriating players to watch because he has massive size and what seems like incredibly low athleticism. And it really is just irritates me to no end that a guy so big with no athleticism could be in the NBA, who seemingly stinks, who seemingly has like costed teams chances to win playoff games because he, every time they passed him the ball, he couldn't get 2 feet off the ground at the same time and would constantly get stripped and then miss dunks. And when you're 7 feet tall or more and you can't dunk the ball or lay the ball in or even jump, you are just, I just can't stand you and I don't want to watch you. And I'm glad that you're not playing in the series due to some injuries. Not that I'm glad you're hurt, because I don't wish injuries on people, except some people. Steven Adams, you're the most unlikable member of the Memphis Grizzlies.
There you go again, Justin, with your obsession just to hate this man, Steven Adams. This dude, oh, where did he play college basketball, by the way? Oh, that's right, Pittsburgh. This dude is totally, he is off the court. He's a really cool guy, but I'll recognize some of those criticisms. May I provide an honorable mention on this?
You sure can. You can provide the first defense, the all team unlikable.
Honorable mention goes to one of our triple BPs from last season, who referred to as the discount Danny Green. This guy is Marcus Smart in the making. None other than Dylan Brooks. I literally feel like you basically just like copy paste Marcus Smart, and this is what you get. I mean, he's like, he won't back down from people. He'll chew them out in their face. I feel like he's one, like hold me back away from just clocking a guy. The dude he's just got that kind of like insane competitive spirit and energy where at any moment, out of all the guys on the roster, he's kind of the crazy one where I could see him just starting to full out brawl. Things are gonna get testy in this Warriors series. Who's gonna initiate it? Dylan Brooks will be.
Okay, well, I think if anybody initiates it, it's going to be from the other team, and we all know who and why.
But who will be the first on the Grizzlies to respond? DB.
All right. Now,
the moment we've all been waiting for. Golden State.
Tim Weimer.
Where do we start?
We gave you the Boston Celtics. Now we're going to get to the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green. The name is coming out early because you already know it. But for the team, for the franchise, for the city, here's some things that you might dislike the Golden State Warriors about. One, they have 6 championships in team history. I'm sick of seeing them win, especially since 3 of those championships are in the last 6 years. I just can't stand them. They get every break imaginable. Their first title run, people are still talking about how great it was. How about in every series you played, the starting point guard for the opposing team somehow was injured and didn't play in a single round of the playoffs? You got through 4 series and didn't have to play. You got backup point guards. You got to the finals and we're playing against Matthew Dellavedova. Just the breaks are just disgusting. They constantly get every break imaginable, and I just can't take it. They're constantly whining and complaining as if they don't get all the breaks. Why do you always have to whine and complain? You had the best record in the NBA and you whined and complained. Stop it. You went from being must-watch TV to must-hate TV. I can't stand you. You play in a big market. You moved from across the bay, from Oakland to San Francisco. Your name is Golden State, so you're claiming the entire state as yours, even though there's other basketball teams in the state of California. Just pick one. San Francisco Warriors, the Oakland Warriors. You're trying to capitalize on the whole thing, and it makes me sick. I hate the franchise. I hate the team. I hate the city. I hate the Golden State Warriors.
Yes. I don't know if I can add anything to that. That's spot on.
Now, if that was not enough to dislike them and to root against them to lose at every chance imaginable, we're going to go to the least likable player on the Golden State Warriors. And this is difficult. You want to know why? Because there are so many unlikable people on the Golden State Warriors. I tried to keep all my answers to one person. The only time I got into honorable mention on my own end was the Phoenix Suns. But this goes like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deep. Everybody you bring up, I could give you unlikable characteristics about them. But the number one most unlikable person on the Golden State Warriors we've talked about is Draymond Green. And T-Wine, this is why we dislike Draymond Green, because he is unbearably overrated. He has a big loud mouth. He's constantly complaining. He's a dirty player. He acts as if he's never done anything wrong. He went on a spree of kicking people in the sack like 10 straight games at the end of the 16 season. Like he was getting paid to do it. He's constantly having to get thrown out of games because he has such a loud mouth and is so egregious. The refs let him get away with more stuff because they're like, that's just Draymond.
That's just who he is.
All right. But he should be thrown out of almost every game he's ever been in. His team somehow succeeds when he plays terribly, and it's really aggravating.
Draymond effect.
And if that's not enough, after having one of the greatest records in regular season history, going on a cruise straight to the NBA Finals, and then getting ejected for kicking LeBron below the belt, coming back and saying, you wouldn't score 41 on me. Well, we saw how that turned out. You immediately, after blowing a 3-1 lead, you went into the parking lot crying, KD, please save me. I can't lose anymore. I can't be a loser. You are just unbelievably aggravating. I can't understand how anybody could like you. I don't care about your defensive metrics and the heart and soul of the team. If the heart and soul of the team is a whiny crybaby, what else is there to say? That's who you want as the heart and soul of your team. How about you get somebody with a little bit of class, a little bit of dignity, a little bit of respect? That's just, you guys make me sick. No real leaders on that team. Just a bunch of hooligans. Number one, Draymond Green. Justin Ogden, why don't you give us an honorable mention? You got anybody on this roster that deserves to be credited with being one of the most unlikable players in the NBA?
We do have an honorable mention here. Steph Curry. This dude, my man. You nailed it, Justin. When you were talking about no other team in the league plays with more of a chip on their shoulder. We don't get the respect that we deserve. People don't blah, blah, blah. You know, we're not on this. The Warriors, they're so sick. I'm so sick of hearing about the Warriors. And yet they still, is it Kerr? I don't know what it is, but this whole squad is like, oh, we never got picked. Oh, like people don't take us seriously. I'm like, yes. I'm sick and tired of hearing everything is always about the Warriors because you're total frauds. Yeah, you've won the championships, but who carried these teams? So Steph Curry, I can't stand seeing him in every other commercial. I can't stand seeing Ayesha Curry open up another restaurant, another lifestyle brand, another song,
another reality TV show,
another collaboration,
ruin the All-Star game, whine and cry on Twitter saying the NBA's rigged because her husband didn't win. 1 year out of 5. Oh,
I can't stand it. It's one thing when, players come in with this mentality, we don't get the respect we deserve. You're in California, okay? You've won championships. You've, like in Steph's case, you've redefined the game. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any negative statements. I don't want to see this team do well at all. I'm so sick and fed up.
And to be the first person in NBA history to have a unanimous MVP. Are you kidding me? You're going to tell me that season from Steph Curry was better than any season that LeBron James or Michael Jordan has had? Just
that's a stretch. Total stretch.
Just can't. I'm sick to my stomach. And that's not all. I've got third runner-up for most least likable player on the team. Yes. And believe me, I could go on and on, but I will stop at 3.
Yes.
He fits right along with those two guys, constantly whining, constantly complaining about every single call, constantly baffled, looking like, how me? I only smacked him across the face. How could it be me? Constantly, oh, no, guys, it's not, no. Just plays right into the victim card. He is unbelievably annoying. He is Andre Iguodala. He is so unlikable. He is like Jay Crowder before Jay Crowder. All right. My good friend Joshua Gonzalez and I, we like to call him Andre Shrugadala because he is 100% shrugging all the time. His shoulders are touching his ears.
He has memorialized that pose where he just goes right to the ref, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. How about memorialize this? Bing bong.
Bing bong.
Most unlikable. Can't stand you. Root against them every single chance you get. All right.
So we need to take this one step further, Justin. I've got we have our bracket. We need to crown the champion of most despicable team that no one should root for, or that
are we crowning
rooting against?
Are we crowning the champion, or are we going to pick? We're going to root against the team to lose in each series and then let the other team advance as being slightly less unlikable.
No, we need the team that is most despicable needs to be the champion here and win the bracket.
So that everybody knows who they should.
Everyone knows that they should not be rooting for this.
You shouldn't be happy unless this team loses.
Exactly.
In the tournament. All right.
Correct.
So, I think Bucks, Celtics.
Pretty easy for me in this one. Boston. Yep.
Least likable team in that series. They move on. Heat, 76ers. Are you abstaining from Heat 76ers?
I'll abstain. Yeah. I'll abstain.
All right. I got to go with the 76ers. I'm sorry. Least likable. So we've got 76ers versus Bucks or versus the Celtics.
Yep. And
Boston versus Philly. What team is more unlikable?
It's still super easy. Boston, hands down.
The Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
You got to root against Boston. So the Boston Celtics are in the finals. They are the least likable team in the Eastern Conference.
Hands down.
Suns, Mavericks. I got to say Suns. I got to say Phoenix.
No, again, most despicable. So you're saying you should be rooting. I think you should be rooting more against the Mavs because they won.
Because they have one title, and It was like the most cherished title of our lifetime.
Yes.
No, you have to root against the Suns because they have all of the unlikable players are on their team.
Not done anything. Okay, so you're going the players outweigh the championship.
Two extremely unlikable players is easier to root against than rooting against a team that won one title 11 years ago.
Okay. So Suns advance, and then
Suns advance.
we obviously know who will advance for this one.
Warriors, Grizzlies, it's no contest. Warriors are done.
And then we obviously have the Warriors emerging victorious.
Yes,
from
because they are far more unlikable. And if we were to get a Warriors Celtics final, I don't think I could watch a single game. It would be that disgusting. I would be that fed up and that sick. And this is perhaps maybe the only scenario in the entire NBA where I would ever root against the team that the Boston Celtics are playing. And I would have to say that the more recent disgust of the Warriors trumps the history of the Celtics. So T-Wime, if you got to know, if it came down to the Celtics versus Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors, I would be rooting against the Golden State Warriors every step of the way.
That's right. I would forego my hatred towards Boston's historical success, winning almost 20 championships just to see Golden State not win another one. So There you have it.
Hey, just so that you can be justified in your comment for least likable player for the Memphis Grizzlies, who I didn't bring up. He just went up. Well, they're playing the Golden State, so maybe I like him more for this. But Gary Payton, too, is going up for a dunk, and Dylan Brooks comes up and just clobbers him on the back of the head and blows him into the NBA stanchion. He's most likely getting a flagrant 2 and ejected from this game.
Just because of that play.
Only 3 minutes in. It's 100% a flagrant 1 because he wound up. He was way behind him. He had no chance of getting there and just clocked him in the back of the head, like elbow on head. And then he was in the air defenseless. So he spun and smashed into the stanchion and busted his arm. So
Dylan Brooks Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole?
Or who is that against?
I thought it was Gary Payton.
Gary Payton
Jr. But Dylan Brooks has been ejected. So there is your makeup. Draymond ejected in game 1. Dylan Brooks ejected only 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes into game 2.
Does not bode well for the Grizzlies.
Oh, you said it was going to get ugly, and it did. It didn't even take 3 minutes.
All right, Justin. On that note, we got a game to get to. Things are already getting spicy in Memphis.
This might be my favorite episode that we've ever done. I'm super stoked about it. I had a blast. Oh, thank you, sir, for entertaining me.
Shout out to T-Wime for leading us.
Thanks, T-Wime, for the content. Hope we answered your questions, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Taco Ball Tuesday.
All right, my brother.
Yo quiero Taco Ball, baby.
Adios.